everybody. Welcome to Mother and Refuge of the End Times. We have Zachary King here today, and I'm Karen Jackson. Hi, Zach.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
I showed up, and I think I was okay when I got there. And then I started getting sick, and I started sweating, and my stomach didn't feel right. And I'm having a hard time talking. And I've got people coming up to me making sure I'm not dying. I'm laying on a back pew. I'm thinking about laying on the floor. I mean, I just feel horrible. And my time to talk is coming up. And I'm just thinking I'm going to die before it's my turn. This woman gives me a very nice, miraculous medal. It's enclosed in something, and she said it was already blessed, and she gave it to me. And but I'm not doing well at all. And finally, it's my turn to talk, and I get up, and I'm not sick at all. I don't have anything, and I do my talk. I do the Q&A. Everything goes fine, and when that's over, I had to be taken to the emergency room because I felt like I was going to die. And it was one of the worst feelings I'd ever had. But Mary gave me the grace to be able to do my talk, do what I was there for. And then they had to this was downstairs. It's like in the basement. So the ambulance crew had to bring a bed down to me, put me on it, and then carry me upstairs. And I thought, if what I've got doesn't kill me, one of them will slip and I'll fall down the stairs and that'll kill me. But thankfully, these guys were solid, and they took me to the hospital, took me to the emergency room. The people that went to that conference, some of them still email me, and they say they were there and that they were praying for me so fervently that I wasn't going to die at the event. And then they say, you got up to speak, and you weren't in discomfort at all, and you were able to talk, and your voice was solid. Because when you were in the back laying on the pew, you're talking in a whisper, and everybody's thinking he's not going to be able to do this talk. And then you got up there like nothing was wrong. Everything was fine, and you just did it. And then afterwards, the ambulance had to come for you.
I wanted to ask you if you remember when I went to you all the way in the beginning when we started doing this event planning. I asked you to pray to God because you have this gift where you could, when exorcists come to you and they don't know the name of the demon that's afflicting someone who's possessed, they come to you in the Lord. So I asked you, what demons do we have to prepare for? Could you share that?
I was told Mammon and Belial.
Yes. So everybody pray against. Okay. And you also, when Jesus was talking to you, you said he allowed you to see a conversation.
And that was Satan was having it with some of his demons. And about our conference and about the organizers of the conference, I guess, he said, who do they think they are? And I told Karen, that is the greatest compliment you've ever received. You just had Satan say, who does she think she is? And I mean, this can't be a better compliment unless God gave you a compliment. Of course, that would be better. But, it's like I tell people, when you're satanic, people call me and they're like, how can I make my satanic attack stop? And I was like, stop being a good Catholic. I said, you don't want your satanic attack to stop. If my satanic attack stopped, I'd think, oh, what did I do wrong? I'm no longer in God's camp. I'm now in Satan's camp. And I said, you don't want it to stop. I mean, now I do tell people also, if you have a curse, I have a test that can tell you what it is. And I gave one to a woman a few days ago, and on day one, she found out she had a curse. It's a 30-day test. But she found out on day one, and I was like, well, you definitely got a curse. At least now you know. And she knows who cursed her, so you don't have to do that test either, because she knows. Now she just has to get deliverance. But it's exciting for me on my side. I love helping people. I love that people call me, they email me, they text me, they send me messages on WhatsApp, and they need answers, they need help, and I'm able to do these things. Now this means too, I'm 650 emails behind, and probably maybe 50 phone calls behind, but I'll eventually get to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure this conference will make it worse.
I
But
know.
I'm okay with that.
Oh. How about after you did a 90-day novena?
Yes. I did a 90-day novena to Our Lady's Tears. Yes. With Our Lady's, it's a 90-day novena to the chaplet of Our Lady's Tears. And in there, we asked for spiritual warfare help on the conference. And there's about 2.5 pages of intentions. And then we had to, it ended a couple of days ago, so we rewrote it. And now we're doing it again, and we've added other stuff to it. But she was asking me, do you want me to take any of these things off? I was like, no. All these people on here that I list need prayers. So let's leave everything on there. And, I have future conferences coming up with you, and this one still has to come. So we're still praying for this one and the future ones. But of all the things I asked for, I was getting booked very sporadically. Like maybe I think I've already had one talk this year, but that was the only one I had. And so we started it 90 days ago. And I think the next day after we started it, you booked me. Then 7 days later, Vancouver booked me. More recently, I've got Texas has booked me or is booking me for next year. Chicago area is booking me. They booked me twice, 2 different groups. Fresno booked me. I'm missing somebody, and then Ireland booked me for 3 weeks. And in the end, it might be more than that. I don't know yet. And they want me to speak like twice a day for 2 weeks and then have a week as a holiday. But I have got, if I don't count Ireland, because that's going to end up being, like 28 dogs, I'm scheduled for about 10 conferences so far. And I went from having one up until the time I started, and then 90 days later, I have 10.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so amazing. My gosh, these prayers are very powerful. The Blessed Mother's tears. So
I had never heard of that chaplet. And then one of my friends told me about it and told me how powerful it was. And then this woman that's like, she's a benefactor of our ministry. And I told her that I was doing this chaplet for 90 days. And she almost swooned with pleasure. She said, I've been praying for you for almost 10 years for you to do this chaplet. And I said, why didn't you just tell me? She goes, I didn't want to tell you. I wanted Mary to tell you. And I know that your prayers are very good. And I know that Mary answers you a lot. So I thought, he's got this connection with Mary. I want Mary to tell him. So for the last 10 years, she's been praying that Mary lays it on my heart to do that. She said she has a big painting above her bed of Our Lady's Tears. And I think she got it in Italy. So when she was visiting the Vatican, and that would have been like 30 or 40 years ago. And now I'm doing the chaplet and I'm doing it for her and her family. And she's like, that's so wonderful. She goes, that's perfect. I know Mary is talking to you. And then we find out that even if you've got the vaccine, you still get COVID. And then she said, and I don't just mean we lost friends because they got mad at us. We lost friends because they died after they took the vaccine. And it's like, and we were praising you. I said, you need to praise God. And he goes, well, we were praying to God for you to keep you safe. Because if you're revealing truth, people don't want to know that. People in high places don't want you to tell the truth.
Right. And that the whole reason why I believe it was the Lord who wanted me to do that conference to exalt the Catholic Church. So it's a play on words. It says Expo, the Catholic Everything Expo, but it really is the Catholic Everything Exposition, lifting up the church, its beauty, the priesthood, the Eucharist, everything the church has. Like no other church has authority. And that's where the Spirit of grace comes down. And so when I was looking up in our diocese alone, all the orders, and the mission of each of the orders, I was crying because I was like, even in our small piece of the world, the Lord has taken care of so many issues. He answers so many prayers by these orders that are hidden. But most especially, like I guess, warning people when you spoke, because you were exposed to the things that most people weren't.
Right.
So thank God.
Have I done 4 conferences for you or more?
I think 4. I think this is the 4th. I'm not sure though.
I did Catholic Everything Expo 1 and 2, and I did the one where we stood up for the Pope.
Oh yeah, 4.
And I did Victory Through Mary.
Right.
And now I've got this one coming up. This is number 5.
5.
And then after 5, I have a 6th one.
Yes. Everybody, if you still want to sign up, it's johnleaps.com, right underneath you, you see that there. Sign up, and you could get Mother and Refuge coupon. You stick that in, and you get 15%.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. But if you want to,
it's so economical to begin with, though.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is like the cheapest conference as far as what it costs to go that I've ever been a part of, other than a free one, other than something free. This is like so economical, and that we've got such heavy hitters here. I mean, how many times has anybody ever been to a conference and a cardinal was there? That's like unheard of. And we have a cardinal, we have a Monsignor, we have an exorcist, which the Monsignor would also be an exorcist, and the cardinal's an exorcist, and he trains exorcists, and then we have the actual exorcist, and we have people that, one the Cardinal Simone is 96 years old. So if you don't come see him now, he might die. Now he might live another 20 years, I guess, but he's 96 years old. So this is like a living saint. You need to come see this guy now while you can, because when he dies, you're going to be like, I could have gone to that, and it was only $30 a day, and I chose not to. I decided that I'd play golf that weekend instead, and now he's dead.
Yeah. Do you know Cardinal Zeta personally? Have you talked to him?
That's Father Zeta. Father Zeta. You just elevated him higher than what he is.
I think it's pathetic. Just kidding.
The only way, I just know him through Tommy.
Yeah, your best friend.
Right, Tommy. And I've never talked to him, but he blesses my St. Benedict medals, and sometimes my miraculous medals. Tommy gets them sent to himself, then he mails them to Father Zeta. Father Zeta blesses them, and then gives them to Tommy's brother, and Tommy's brother mails them back to us. But before that, I belonged to St. Paul Street Evangelization, and they have like the best prices for medals of all types of medals. And so if you join, it's like $15 a month to be a member there. And then you get like a 15% discount or something like that, which is no big deal if you're only going to buy like a handful of medals. But we get them by multiple thousands of them. Somebody might buy like 7,000 medals for me, and they're saving 4 or 5 cents per medal. That can turn into a big savings. So they do that. We get them there. We would go out and get them blessed, and then I give them away for free at conferences and at like anytime anybody orders anything from us, we send free medals out with those. Also, if somebody calls me and says, medals where I live cost $3 and $4 each, and I need like 20 of them because I heard you say in a conference that you should put one in every room, even closets and in cabinets and things like that. And I can't afford to do that with 20 something or 30 something medals. I'm like, not a problem. What's your address? My ministry can pay the shipping. It's free. If I charged you, I'd lose the blessing. So, you can put them in all the places I say to do it. But, there's no reason. We have benefactors that buy these things. So why would I charge you for something that I'm getting for free?
Mm. And, well, tell us a little bit about Tommy.
Tommy?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy's a bad seed.
Tommy, don't be watching this. He's kidding.
Tommy is trying to be the best Catholic that he can be. I mean, he goes to like daily mass, daily adoration. Now, he doesn't always get to go, but yeah, and he does things like that. And he has a spiritual director. And before he opened, he's been a tattoo artist for like 36 years. Before he opened this shop up again, he went to a bunch of priests and exorcists to ask them, is this something I should do? Or should I close the shop and look for something else to do? And I think he talked to Father Gary Thomas and Father Lambert and his exorcist, Father Zeta. But I feel like I'm missing somebody. But he told them, in his shop, you've been in his shop, right?
Yes, I have.
So he's got Mary everything everywhere. He's got a church pew there. So if you need to sit down, there's a church pew. The only non-Catholic item he has is a picture of Mr. Rogers. He's got Mary statues. He's got rosaries everywhere. And everybody that comes to the shop gets a Blessed Miraculous medal, sometimes a St. Benedict medal. And he also has like a vase filled with just random medals. And when somebody talks to him, he'll say, oh, I think you need this medal of Saint whoever. And he gives them that too. Most of the people take them. Most of the people light up and they're happy. And, he only does, he'll put a tree on you if you want that, plant life, something like that, an animal of some kind. But he doesn't do no zodiac, nothing satanic, nothing new age, nothing alchemy, nothing homosexual, nothing Harry Potter, nothing, I can't think of the name of the movie. It's the one with vampires and werewolves. Twilight. Nothing Twilight. You won't put Wicked on your body just because of the name. And he also, even if you wanted a nice image that he would normally put on you, it depends on where you want it. If a woman wants it on her breasts or on like her inner thigh or on her hip, he doesn't want to do that because that draws attention to things you don't want to draw attention to. And he'll explain. He has a sign on the wall that tells you what kind of stuff he won't do. And he also will explain, I'm not going to do that tattoo, and this is why.
Right. And doesn't he also have his inks blessed?
Yes. He has all of his inks, all of his guns. Everything has been blessed by a priest. He also puts holy water into the ink. And I mean, he goes the extra mile to make sure that, no one's going to get possessed going to a shop or get a curse. Because there's other tattoo artists in New York. There's a guy there that's known as being a satanic tattoo artist. And he curses all of his stuff. And people come in specifically to him because they know they can get a cursed tattoo of a demon and that it comes with a satanic curse. I'm like, I don't know what possesses people, well, other than the devil, to decide that's a good idea, because that's clearly not a good idea.
Well, not only does he give away free miraculous and the same benefit metals, but he gives away free holy water and holy salt, exercise salt, right?
I think on occasion, yes. And he also sometimes gives away one of his rosaries.
Mm.
And I don't think he's ever given away one of the pictures or anything like that, but, I wouldn't expect him to do that.
It looks like
Go ahead.
no, it looks like an upper room. Everything's holy in there.
Right. And he's had a priest came up there and blessed everything. And he was talking about that he was wanting to get one priest to go do it, but he's older. And I said, come on, Tommy, that's 4 flights of stairs. You can't make an old man walk up 8 flights of stairs total.
Right.
It's like, find another priest that can do that.
Well, when you and I were talking about, I was telling you that someone said, "Oh, tattoos are a sin." You said about the Crusades.
Yeah, the Crusaders, when they were going into battle, they would tattoo their entire body. Like, not a solid tattoo, but they would tattoo their face, their neck, their shoulders, their back, their front, their arms, their hands, their legs, their feet. And the reason for it is that in battle, you don't know what's going to get cut off. And, they finally, at the end of the battle, they gather up all the feet and put them in one pile, all the legs in another pile, all the hands in another pile, all the arms in another pile, the heads in another pile, and then they bury them all. And if it's not tattooed with Catholic stuff on it, something that makes you Catholic, or a crucifix, or a miraculous medal, or holy images of some kind, or Bible verses, then you're going to get a Muslim funeral. So you want everything buried in a Catholic cemetery with Catholic burial. So a priest comes out there. It had to be a priest that came up with the idea. So a priest comes up with the idea. Everybody is losing body parts, but there's a priest that goes out there and blesses the funeral area where they buried the body parts. And everybody that had those tattoos were able to get Catholic burials.
An identifier.
There's also a lot of people like to bring up, I don't remember the Bible verse. If you ask Tommy, he can quote it to you about what it says about not getting tattoos. It doesn't say tattoos. The word tattoo didn't come out till like the 16th or 17th century. So if you see a Bible that says tattoo in it, that Bible came out after that time period, because that word didn't exist until, 1400 years after the Bible was made. And what people were doing at that time, it didn't tell you not to get any tattoos. These people were getting the image of a dead relative tattooed on them and then worshiping it like they were a god. So if you're not doing that, plus, have you noticed that the people that throw that verse out don't read the verse behind or before it? They quote you that one. So Father Ripperger talks about no tattoos are good, all tattoos are evil, and this is stuff that he's gotten from demons, and that no one should get any of these tattoos. Then, if you read the verse before that one about the tattoos, it says that you cannot get it's like a bowl cut haircut, which is what a lot of the friars get, and you're not to shave your beard or mustache off, which Father Ripperger doesn't have any facial hair. So it's okay so you're telling everybody, don't get a tattoo because it says so in the Bible, but then you shave your face, which it says just before the tattoos, not to shave your face. Right, those medals go everywhere. And everybody that comes to his shop, most of them are not religious. I mean, if they are religious, they're New Age. They might even be satanic. He even talked a woman out of being pro-death and made her pro-life.
Mm.
And when he talks about, he's not making any money, I said, well, that may be true, but you're changing hearts and you're convicting souls. I said, it's not worth more. I said, and it's not your ministry anyway, it's Mary's.
Right. I think he was just on EWTN, or I don't know. I just heard he was.
I think they just contacted him about doing an interview with him.
Oh, okay.
And then he also just did an interview with a diocese, like a Catholic periodical from a diocese. And then he also did like something in, I think, a podcast, The Honest Tattooer. And he also did an interview with Eric, what's his name, Tafoya? Yes. Eric Tafoya. That's somebody you might want to have at your Catholic influencers. He's on the Terry and Jesse show. He's on the Virgin Most Powerful, but he has a big following, and he speaks quite a bit out in California. And Tommy did an interview with him, and that guy's trying to book him for another one. He's had 6 or 7 interviews recently. Yeah. So,
but the next conference is a little bit of a secret, so we're really not telling people about it. We just
okay. Well, there's on the one hand you have bad catechesis and bad formation, but it's not just priests don't do it on purpose. When they went to the seminary, they didn't talk about the devil or hell or Satan. They don't learn. They come out, they don't know. And then a lot of priests only want to say something that makes everybody happy. Everything is good. It's like the New Age religion. In the New Age movement, there's no hell, there's no Satan, there's no demons, there's only angels, there's only a kind, loving God that doesn't judge you, and everybody goes to heaven. And if you're a good Catholic, that ain't true. Right. I had this concern that I've got 3 kids, 16, 10, and 8. Right. And every once in a while, they open their mouth and say something that's not quite right. And then I have to explain why that's not right and what makes it wrong. And then I find myself once in a while thinking, okay, God, you put this woman in my life. This is the woman I asked for. I asked St. Expeditius for 8 months for this to take place. And St. Expeditius found me this woman and with these kids. And now it is my responsibility. I feel the burdens that priests feel where they have to lead their flock to heaven. And everybody that goes to hell because of them, they're responsible for. And now I've got 4 people under my watch. And I'm like, God, I know you wouldn't have given me something I couldn't do, but you got to help a brother out because I'm afraid I'm not going to lead everybody. And when you gave me that message earlier, the words you had for me, I was like, oh, that's what that meant. Can you share that with people? Could you share it? Go ahead, Zach, you speak better. It was just that you were talking to me. We were up really late at night, and you texted me and said you got like a word about me, but I didn't see that. My wife didn't see it, so we never contacted you about it, and you forgot about it. And then you told me today. You're gonna have to say it again though, because I can't quote it. Okay. So I even showed you the date. I have a word for you on the text. It was about a month ago, almost a month, and it wasn't in words, but the way I translated it, I understood it deeply. In fact, it put a tear in my eye.
The Lord said, I'm not going to give you a family without you being able to take care of that family. Right?
Right. And when you said that, I was like, she's legit. That's the actual message to me. Because I had wondered, I had even concerned, I voiced that to Guadalupe. You know, like, it's my responsibility to get everybody to heaven. And I'm afraid I'm failing.
Oh.
You know, and it's not a prideful thing when I say, I'm Zachary King, I should be able to do this. I've led, according to priests, I've led thousands. I don't know that I go that far. But I've probably led hundreds that I know of back to the Catholic Church, into confession, to God, you know, and I've influenced people to become priests and to become nuns. And some of them, I didn't even talk to them. They just had something happen that had to do with me, and they became a nun because of me, or became a priest because of me. And everybody that they touch, everybody that they influence in a good way, I get partial credit for, you know, because I influenced them to do these things. So many people have become Catholic because of me, and I mean even Protestants that have converted to Catholicism because of me. I'm currently leading, is it 4 or 5 Protestants right now to the Catholic Church? And something 4 or 5 people, and that's just immediately. That's like in the last month, you know, that I'm leading to the Catholic Church, and it's like I can do that, and I can do it to people all over the world. You know, when I was in Medjugorje 4 years ago, this Japanese lady come running up to me, sobbing and screaming at me in Japanese. I have no idea what she's saying. And she comes up to me, she's right in my face, she gives me a hug, and she's speaking to me in Japanese. And I said, I don't understand Japanese. And she says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was speaking English. She said, she says, I have a huge Japanese family. I mean, gigantic. And your videos brought my entire family back to the Catholic Church. And they're going to be so jealous of me because had we known that you were going to be here, my whole family would have shown up. These are people that live in Japan. I've never been to Japan as a Catholic. And they discovered all my videos. I have YouTube shorts now. I have, YouTube videos. I have a podcast, you know, and they've discovered me and my interviews and all of that. And I brought them back to the church, you know, and it's like, okay, I can influence the whole world, but not my own family.
I think the family is always the toughest, you know.
Right.
People from your own town, you know, they know you more intimately. So it's hard for them to, you know, I know for a fact because my own family.
I was going to say, Jesus had days like that.
Oh, sure.
You know, aren't you the carpenter's son?
Exactly.
Well, it's funny, as much as they believe that we go overboard with a lot of things, they all believe in the illumination of conscience, and they all believe in 3 days of darkness. And they've all said, you know, I know when this comes, you know, like, I know not to kill myself after the illumination of conscience because I'm going to go to hell if I do that. And I know that during 3 days of darkness, I have to sit in the room with you with a holy candle and pray rosary after rosary after rosary. They're like, we're down. We'll be doing that. You know, we're not going to look outside. You know, we know the ramifications. And it's like, okay, so let me see if I understand this. You know that you have to light a holy candle that's at least 50% or 51% beeswax and, you know, have a 72-hour candle on hand, which we have multiple. And you know not to stop praying, and you know you don't have to eat, but you don't know not to go see Harry Potter.
Well, it's hard in this day and age for people to be obedient and see the importance of obedience. It's hard because everybody wants to do their own thing.
Right.
And that
I tell a lot of people that the reason my ministry is unpopular is because I tell you what you're doing is wrong and you need to stop. And people don't want to hear what they're doing is wrong, and they like what they're doing. I mean, if sinning wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it. And then they don't want to hear that you have to start something else. You have to do something else now. You know, and even if that something has to be going to adoration for an hour a week, they don't want to do something new. They don't want to do any extra work.
Yes.
Have you ever seen somebody at adoration reading a book?
Like a holy book, the Bible?
Well, any book. Any book. Like, usually not the Bible. Usually they bring some book from home, or there'll be a bookshelf there with a bunch of books on it. And I don't know what they're reading because I'm blind. I can't see. But it's usually not a Bible-looking book. And they read the Bible. And I was on a conference, not a conference, but a podcast recently, and it was a Catholic show. And I said, it bothers me to see that. And they're like, why? And I said, okay, you're going to sit in front of God. He's right there. And you're going to read a book. I said, have you ever seen Pink Floyd in concert? And the guy's like, no. I said, all right, but let me tell you, I've gone to see them like 4 times. This is over the course of, many years. But I saw them in concert. At the show, you see there's fog, there's smoke, there's lasers everywhere. There's a laser machine that rises up out of the stage for one song, and then it disappears back into the stage, never to reappear. So if you're on drugs, when you see that, you're like, I swear there was a laser machine right there. But there's lasers everywhere. There's spotlights everywhere. There's giant inflatable animals floating all around. There's an inflatable bed that flies towards the stage and explodes. If you're in an outdoors arena, 3 U.S. fighter jets, if you're in the United States, will fly overhead. That can't be cheap. And then there's, during the Comfortably Numb song, which is everyone's favorite, all of a sudden a black curtain goes up and you see this like 30-foot tall mirror ball. And it happens during the guitar solo. And so while that's going on, the mirror ball is shining all over the entire stadium. Then it opens up. And when it opens up, there's more lasers and more spotlights. Oh, by the way, there's 19 spotlights hitting it from all over the stadium. So it's shining everywhere. It opens up. There's more lasers and lights inside shining out. And it's just this massive spectacle. At the very back of the stage, behind the stage, is a giant high definition round screen with spotlights all the way around it and lasers. So they're all going everywhere. At some point, that screen lowers. So it's directly over the band and it's doing all the lasers over the band. Then eventually it raises back up. When the last note is struck, there's pods all the way around on the spotlights and they all explode. So it's the final spectacle of what happens. Then the band comes out and thanks you for attending all of that. But to me, that is an awesome spectacle. When I wasn't Christian, going to that show was like a religious experience. You saw the hand of God everywhere. It was just an amazing spectacle. And to me, reading a book at adoration is equal to, or worse of an offense, as going to see Pink Floyd and reading a book. You miss everything because you're reading a book.
I see.
And you miss everything. You miss the jets flying overhead. You miss the lasers, the spotlights, the mirror ball, the inflation, the inflatable things, the exploding bed. There's dozens or sometimes hundreds of explosions happening, but you're missing everything because you read a book. And it's like you're sitting in front of God reading a book. What's wrong with you? Now, praise God, they made it to adoration. But I mean, how does Jesus feel standing up there and they're not talking to him?
Right.
They came to sit in front of him and read a book. Have you ever seen Science Test Faith?
No.
It's a documentary, and it's where they show you that how many places that the Eucharist turned to heart flesh. And there was a guy I spoke in 2016 in Trinidad, and there was a scientist that came there to speak. And he was the scientist that somebody brought the Eucharist to, but they didn't tell him what it was. He was an atheist, and he tested it in its heart tissue, and it has the DNA of the mom, but not the dad, which he was puzzled at. And the heart had evidence that it was tortured before it was murdered. Before they killed this person, he was tortured. And so he's confirming all this with the people that gave it to him. And then he asked, what do I have? What is this? Who is this person? And this guy's an atheist, and they tell him that that was this originally. This is what it turned. This turned into that. And, they're holding a Eucharist. And he's like, I don't understand. How could that happen? And so they told them that this is the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. And so he's there giving this talk. And when people ask him, are you still an atheist? He goes, no. He says, I'm Catholic. I joined the Catholic Church. Since no other church has this, I'm coming here. He said, this changed my life. I don't remember the guy's name, but if you look up that conference, I think the website for that, or the template page, is still up. It was
I'll look it up.
Trinidad, like I think either January or February 2016.
It's Science Test Faith.
Science Test Faith is, and that's another program, and that has, I think Matt Fradd is in that.
Oh, okay. Well,
And that's a compliment.
very
You don't want your satanic attack to stop, because that means you've gone to the other side. It was about 3 weeks ago. I have a wound on the back of my left heel. And that's the reason I can't walk, because they don't want pressure on that to make the wound worse. So I go to this wound doctor once a week, and they clean it up for me, wrap it up, and then send me on my way. So I'm sitting there getting ready to go inside, and I'm in a wheelchair. My wife has to bring the wheelchair up to me. I'm sitting in the car right now, and the door is open, and it's open as wide as it goes, and both my legs are hanging out of the car, just waiting for my wife to bring me the chair. And the wind blows here like you read about in like desert storms. I mean, it's like an incredible amount of wind. We have wind advisory warnings that if you weigh less than 200 pounds, you could be carried away by the wind. So, like my niece called me one day and she goes, don't go outside. There's a wind advisory warning. I said, you've met me. You know I'm not blowing anywhere. She goes, all right, sorry, forgot. So she's concerned for my safety. I appreciate that, but I'm 250 pounds. I'm not blowing away. And I'm waiting to go. Now remember, I'm blind. So when the door slammed shut on me, I didn't see it coming. I didn't hear the door, but I heard it. I stuck my hand out, but I didn't hear it and I didn't see it. I didn't know it was slamming shut on me till it hit my left leg. And that hurt so bad. Like I thought it slammed so hard, I thought I broke my leg. So my wife brings the chair. I open up the door fully. I get out, get in the chair, and I go inside. And I feel of my leg, which has the biggest goose egg on it you've ever seen. It was gigantic. It's like bigger than my fist. And so when I get in to see them, they have to take off I wear compression socks. They take off my compression sock and my shoe. And the nurse looks at it and goes, oh my gosh, what happened here? And I said, 20 minutes ago, the door hit my leg. And, she's like, you're going to have to get that x-rayed. So they sent me to get an x-ray the next day. Turns out it's not broken, which shocked the doctor. She said, that goose egg was so big, your leg swelled up so big, I knew it was broken. And it turned out it wasn't. But it still hurts. and it hurts from the knee down to the ankle. And it hurts so bad, it feels like it's broke. And this is every day. Now, for me, I'm on dialysis Monday through Friday. So when my wife pokes my arms with needles, that's the time I choose to offer up everything I'm going through since the last time I offered it up, which would have been the day before when I got poked with needles. So I offer up everything every 24 hours, Monday through Friday. Then I don't do it on Saturday and Sunday because I don't have dialysis. But then on Monday, now I'm offering everything up since Friday. So everything gets offered up. So that is getting offered up. And that I'm 100% certain is because I'm speaking at your conference.
Mm.
Everything that she's done is so powerful. The chaplet, what a lot of people don't get about Our Lady's tears is that you're praying to Jesus and you're using Mary's tears as a conduit for what you're requesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is so, when I first got it, I thought, this isn't a chaplet to Our Lady's tears. It's a prayer to Jesus.
Yes.
And then when I started doing it, I didn't know it was going to work. I mean, I figured most things Mary work. I mean, every novena I've ever done, most of them I do to Mary Undoer of Knots and St. Expeditius. They're a great team together. And every one of them we've done has worked. And so I was doing this, and I thought, I've never heard of this before. My friend Laura gave it to me. But, I'm willing to try it. And I have a pretty solid prayer life. So I'll just add one more thing to it. It'll be fine. And I started doing it. And like I said, 2 days after we started, it might have been the first day after we started, you contacted me about this conference. And I was like, okay, that's got to be connected. And now since then, I've got either 8 or 9 other conferences. And I've got, the one in Ireland that's going to light up my vitae and it's going to add like 2 more pages to my vitae, just as one conference.
Mm.
Right. This is for everyone. We are not doing this to get rich. This might be the first time. Am I allowed to say this?
Yes, you are.
This might be the first time that Karen has actually been in the black for a conference, because every conference I've been in with her, she was in the red, deep in the red. And then, somebody would eventually donate money to her and she would come out she'd break even.
Yeah.
But this will be the first time she's not breaking even and she's not going to be in the red. That's very exciting. And that's totally God, because we see her pattern. She feels like God wants her to do something.
And I do it.
She does it. She's a go-getter. She's like, somebody dropped the ball. She picked it up and ran with it, and she's running for that touchdown, regardless of whether she wins or not. And she crosses the end zone. She gets into the end zone, spikes the ball, but 4 times she spiked the ball and lost the game. Mm-hmm. And then later, then you find out that, somebody cheated and you did win, or you broke even, it was a tie, and it's eventually that happens. And this is like the first time that that's not happening.
I know.
But the devil has tried to stop where we're having it.
Yeah.
And something is happening. Pray for Tommy. Tommy when he visited me a few months ago, he got the flu on the plane. And then he's got it back now. And he said he said him and his mom have it. And I said, did you get it from her or she get it from you? He goes, I got it from her. I said, mother's the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh my God.
So he had to close yesterday. And I think he didn't work many hours today. And the flu, when he gets it, it's a booger. It knocks him out for a while. So, and the conference is next week.
Yeah.
And isn't he somebody's bodyguard at this event?
Yeah.
It's amazing that, in a way, it's not amazing, but it is amazing that me being a former Satanist and Baptist, that I found the Catholic Church.
Mm.
And really, that wasn't, it wasn't me finding the Catholic Church. It was that Mary decided it was time to rescue me.
Mm.
You know, I had a priest tell me one time that in his mind, he imagines that I was working in the jewelry kiosk and Satan was there, just making sure that his property was where it's supposed to be. And then he looks up and sees the Mother of God coming. And he asks her what she's doing in the mall. And she says she's shopping. And he's like, well, it's a free country, help yourself. And he just stands around and she walks up to me. He's like, wait, what are you doing? And she leads me to her son. And he gets to see Mary and Jesus and me, and I'm no longer Satan's. And he says, how much attack do you get? I said, all of it. Don't think that, that, oh, there's days when I don't get any. No, I'm pretty much getting it every day.
Mm.
And, and he's like, well, that's because he hates you. I said, I know. We hate you too. It was nice to hate you more. I think he hates you more. And I was at an exorcism. It was Monsignor Lefemina was the exorcist. And when the exorcism starts, he calls Satan before the tribunal of God. Now we do confession, and he does two different types. And then he does traditional Latin Mass. Everybody takes the Eucharist. At the very end, the last thing he does is start the exorcism. And he calls Satan before the tribunal of God. And he says, if you do that, Satan has to show up. So he shows up and he asks, by what right do you have to possess this person? And so Satan says what right he has to possess him. Suddenly, Satan's head snaps to the right and he sees me. He locks eyes with me. And he said, Zachary King is not welcome here. He's a liar and a traitor. And Monsignor took a pitcher of holy water and doused him in it. And Satan screamed for about 30 minutes. And then he was gone. And now we're working with the next demon. And we do this for about 6 hours.
Mm.
And at the end, there's 3 priests in the room, the exorcist and 2 assistants. And then there's a bunch of other people there that are prayer warriors or muscle in case somebody goes crazy. And so Monsignor gets up and he says, okay, I need Zach and you two come with me. So we go into this other room and we walked into the other room and one of the priests said, that totally just gave you street cred. He says, I believed in your story. I believe in you. The bishop believes in you. But when that happens, wow. He said, Satan just called you a liar and a traitor. He's like, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black?
The accuser. Oh.
Ask, what can you speak through me?
Yes.
I don't have the verbiage to tell this person what they're going to need to know. You need to speak through me. And don't be shy.
Yes.
I mean, the woman that gave me the blessed miraculous medal, Marianne Wickman, she didn't know me.
Right.
She came up to me. We did a transaction. I told her something. She said, I've got something for you too, and pulls out a blessed miraculous medal. And I didn't know what that was. And I didn't know her. And then she knows all my sins, like 12 sins that I've done. And I'm realizing that her magic is stronger than mine.
Mm.
All she had was the Holy Spirit telling her to give me a medal. And she had the confidence in the Holy Spirit and the bravery in her soul to do it, knowing that the worst case scenario is that I murder her in the mall and she goes straight to heaven as a martyr.
Mm.
And I tell people that don't know how to evangelize and they're scared. They don't want to just walk up to a total stranger, cold call them about God.
Yeah.
And I said, walk up to them with a blessed miraculous medal, hand it to them. It's shiny. Most people take it. When they take it, say, call your mother and walk away. If they're Catholic, they know what it means. If they're not Catholic, worst case scenario, they call the real mother. And there can't be something bad happening there. And what if they're given the same grace I was given and they convert instantly to the Catholic Church? Don't see Karen because she's going to be pulling her hair out and going crazy at the expo or at the conference. As it happens at like every conference, I describe her as she likes to charge into hell with a thimble of water. And she is putting out fires all day long. And if you see her, have mercy, have pity, pray for her. Try not to go up there and ask her anything. She'll answer you. She's courteous. She'll stop what she's doing to answer you. But you should have mercy on her and not do it.
Thank you so much, Zach.
If you sent me an email or called me or something, and obviously I said I'm 650 emails behind, so I may not get to all of you before the conference, but come up to me, say hi, say, I'm the guy that sent you this email, or I called you, or, I've been a fan of yours for however long, or I just met you, I just heard of you. I'd like to talk to everybody. I know I'm not going to be able to. The wonderful thing about the new venue is that we have so much more room. We have like doubled our capacity, and we were getting close to selling out the first one. And now we have a new venue site, and instead of holding 500, we can hold almost 1,000. And I mean, it opened up the world to so many more people. And then we have so many more people doing the Zoom thing. It is going to be a very exciting event. And I can't wait to see everybody there.
Amen.
Hello, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Mother in Refuge of the End Times. We are excited to announce that Mother in Refuge will be collaborating with John Leap's ministry to present a once-in-a-lifetime event. We introduce the Exorcism and Deliverance Conference titled Shielding the Children of God. This 2-day event, which culminates in a live worldwide exorcism, will be providentially held on the feast days of St. Benedict and St. Veronica on July 11th and 12th, 2025, held live in New Jersey or online via live stream, with 3 powerful exorcists presenting, as well as an ex-satanic wizard, Zachary King, and more great speakers. We are thrilled to welcome our keynote speaker, Cardinal Simoni, Chief of the Catholic Exorcism, known as the Living Martyr. Cardinal Simoni was unjustly imprisoned and on death row in communist Albania for 28 years. Now, he is an active universal exorcist and teacher exorcist. He is described by Pope Francis as the exorcist of exorcists. We also welcome Monsignor John Esseff, spiritual son of Padre Pio, and previous spiritual director of Mother Teresa and the Missionaries of Charity. Purchase your conference tickets now for 20% off using coupon code Mother in Refuge. Register now on website www.johnleaps.com or scan this QR code for more details. Don't miss out on this powerful spiritual event. Be strengthened, be restored, and be cleansed.